The evolution of language has been a topic of discussion by many scientists, from anthropologists to evolutionary linguists. There are many theories on where the first forms of communication came from, but the exact time and place is still unknown. The evolution of linguistics is centered on the development of the brain, the vocal tract, the necessities for language. Our ancestors, through years of study, have given various hints through fossils that they had the means and the ability for communication. Homo erectus and Homo habilis were two early hominins commonly known to exhibit the potential for language. Many speculate that language started with expressions, which then would lead up to spoken words. Why is this important? Analyzing its development through millions of years can help us understand how early hominin species evolved culturally and socially through expressions, gestures, and even grunts. So how might have we gone from this to this?
Alan! 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 Ow! Alan!
First, let's delve into the biological factors that contributed to the development of language. Functions in the brain are what is responsible for the production of language. For the brain, language processing focuses on three areas: the Broca's area, the Wernicke area, and the angular gyrus. The Broca's area is located in the left frontal lobe of the brain and is responsible for the production of speech. Here is where we process our words before we say anything. The Wernicke area is located in the left temporal lobe and is responsible for the understanding of speech noise. This area can be known as the comprehension center of the brain. The angular gyrus is located in the parietal lobe of the brain and is the center for neural association with language, memory, attention, and processing. An example of how these sections work together is if we were repeating a heard word. The process would start within the auditory cortex in the temporal lobe, creating sound. This word is then comprehended in the Wernicke area, which moves to the Broca's area where we speak the word with the help of the motor cortex, which is involved in muscle activity. Development of the brain over time can draw back to our ancestors, who had the means for possible linguistic association.
Ancestral development of the brain can also be seen through hominid species such as Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and Homo heidelbergensis. It was discovered that many Neanderthals had the hyoid bone, which is a bone supported by the muscles of the neck. This bone in turn supports the tongue and also makes human speech possible. The larynx, located at the top of the neck, holds and connects many key parts like the vocal cords and the hyoid bone, and is crucial for any form of speech. Early hominids had a rather highly positioned larynx, making speech limited. However, through evolution, the larynx descended into the neck, resulting in chambers in the mouth and throat, responsible for a wider range of sounds and speech. A couple of years ago, a study was done at Princeton University on the connection between the brain and the vocal tracts associated with primates. Scientists took 99 vocalizations and configurations of a macaque named Emiliano. They simulated what Emiliano might sound like if he possessed the brain capacity to speak. Here's what it sounded like.
Will you marry me?
Our most ancient relatives, Homo habilis, had a brain capacity ranging from 500 to 750 cubic centimeters, with the species living about 2.3 to 1.6 million years ago. This species was also known to use tools, creating the impression that they are closely related to the Homo sapiens, whilst also being a possible ancestor of Homo erectus. Further studies are still determining if the species use language, but assumptions have led to the use of grunting or other noises as means of communication. Co-discoverer Philip Tobias argued that Homo habilis had major brain lateralization, which is the tendency for some neural functions to be more dominant in one brain hemisphere than the other. This supports the means for tool making and linguistic development. Homo erectus brain capacity is about 900 cubic centimeters, with the species living from about 1.8 million years ago to 143,000 years ago. This species is also known for tool making and the possibility of controlling fire. Homo erectus comes very close to being related to Homo sapiens, with both its brain capacity and tools. Indications show Homo erectus might not have spoken language, rather, they might have used gestures and facial expressions instead. Homo heidelbergensis lived from about 700,000 years to 200,000 years ago, with a brain size of about 1,200 cubic centimeters. There is evidence that this species was able to control fire, as well as use tools, particularly to hunt larger animals. This species was also the first to build simple shelters and also displayed the capability for speech, as it had a hyoid bone in its vocal tract. Due to the isolated nature of the groups of this species, it's also possible that they would have developed their own language.
Though many have not concluded the exact origin of language, many present possible theories that might answer the question of how and why words became what they are today. Each one has a title more interesting than the last. One theory, the bow wow theory, suggests that words formed as imitations of the natural sounds they make. This is known as onomatopoeia and includes sounds such as moo, bow wow, and more. Another theory, the poo-poo theory, states that early humans developed language through emotional responses like pain or surprise, by expressing such feelings through gestural sounds like shrieking or gasping. The ding-dong theory states that language arose due to early humans developing an awareness of their physical surroundings. The ta-ta theory states that early humans developed language through a series of gestures, for example, using tongue movement as a form of communication. The yo-he-ho theory states that language arose from the necessary cooperation of physical actions in the environment early humans lived in. They needed to use grunts and chants as a form of coordination to work together. Lastly, the la-la theory states that language arose through sounds that provoked harmony, love, and song. Overall, there is still much to discover about the origins of language. Much of the evolution of language can be traced back to the brain and vocal tracts of early hominids. Other conclusions also indicate that the language origins and development can be summarized through millions of years of cultural and social progression. But one thing is certain: we were not the first to speak.